Before I found dance, I first fell in love with music. I think my musicality has always been pretty good. Whenever I listen to a song, I'm always like dancing along to the melody or waving my arm to like the piano riff or even like popping to the bass beats. So whenever I listen to a song, I could never stay still because there was just so much emotion that I felt when listening to music, especially growing up as an only child, and I had a lot of free time and I had a single parent. I never really talked to anybody. Like, I'm still really introverted as a person, and I think my way to express all the emotions I felt was through music. I don't feel like I can convey my emotions as well as I feel them, so the fact that music was able to do this for me was such a blessing. And so when I found dance, naturally I was like, oh my god, there's this whole concept where you can express how you feel through a song with purely just movement, like no words necessary at all. I was hooked. Like, my first exposure to dance, I'd have to say, is actually online. The first dance video that I've ever come across was the World of Dance 2018 qualifiers video with Sean Liu and Casey Rice. They danced blindfolded actually to one of my favorite songs at the time. I think that's how I found out about the video. I was just searching up like my favorite song, and then I saw that there was a dance cover of it of some sort, and I clicked on it and I fell in love. After that, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole of like all the choreographers that I love today. I first found when I was really young on YouTube. So people like Brian Puspos, Kyle Hanagami, all these really good dancers and choreographers. I just absorbed it all. But because I was an only child with zero extracurriculars, I always thought like, oh, this is something like sports. You'd have to start really young to be able to get this good as the people that I was watching on screen. So I was kind of like, okay, this is something that I love watching, but I don't think I can ever really execute myself. I kind of just kept dance on the back of my mind. Even though I connected with it really well, I just thought like, oh, this is something I can't do. Alright, so time skip. I am now a junior in high school. I am 16 years old and I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I think dance found me at a point in my life where I was really directionless. I still keep asking myself all these existential questions like, what do I really want to do in my life? What do I want to do as a lifelong career? Am I going to be happy in the future? When I was 16 in high school, that's when all these questions started fogging my brain. But I found dance again. Just in general, I think finding a hobby really helps me not feel as lost as I usually do. But yeah, I was really grateful for YouTube once again for bringing up K-pop. So I know K-pop is this big stigmatized thing in the US, but I really owe it to that whole music industry for making me get back into a hobby that I thought I couldn't do before. I really clicked with one South Korean boy group, and I don't even need to say their name.
Please welcome BTS! BTS! BTS!
I think everybody knows who they are at this point. To this day, they've been this constant figure of hope and admiration for me. Online, on YouTube especially, you can see their dance practice videos from when they debuted up to now, and you could just see the growth and how much effort they've put into what they do, and you can really tell that they love what they do. I think just watching these people feel so passionately and feel so motivated to do better at dance, at like performing in general, is what kept me dancing. Having them as my inspiration was really big. And there was this one person in the group that stood out to me because I think the way he moves is something that I really want to be good at. He's very like flowy and bouncy and hip-hoppy, and I was never really good at like sharp pictures. I just love to move, and I think him being like the dancer, I guess, of the group, I just really resonated with him. Unrelated, but he released like a dance documentary as well recently, and I've been watching it, and the inspiration. Oh, they're so inspiring. I'm just amazed, and yeah, I just wanted to mention them because I don't think that I'd feel so passionately about dance if I hadn't found out about them. So yeah, there I was, junior in high school, dancing to K-pop tutorials online. This is where my self-taught journey really started. Like, okay, there's this dance that I want to do, and I'm gonna learn it, I'm gonna film myself, I'm gonna even edit myself side by side with the original dance and give myself critiques on how to improve, all that stuff. I really had to rely on myself to teach myself how to dance, and that is the most frustrating thing in the world, especially now after having danced with other people, because you don't have anyone else to help you out, like to point out things that maybe you don't see in the way that you move. I think a lot of the time I was just playing a dance video on like 0.5 speed, mirroring it, and just learning step by step what each move was, and then I had to put it all together on my own too. I didn't know anything about counts. I had to figure out the timing. I usually just went along with the beats or the lyrics, but sometimes when a move doesn't really go along with the beats or the lyrics, I was kind of just like figuring it out blindly. Yeah, being self-taught was definitely hard. I loved it regardless. I thought it was really fun to be able to teach myself this one dance move. It was super rewarding in the end, so yeah. Time skip, and I am now a freshman in college, still clueless, still don't know what she's doing with her life. I think dance found me again in a time where I really needed it. Lo and behold, me and my friends are on another YouTube binge rabbit hole at 2 a.m. at a random lecture hall, and then we stumble across dance videos. And then my friend at the time, he just joined Haru. He was like, there's this coffee house coming soon, and we were watching a dance video that he really loved, and he was like, why don't we try doing this? And because I had so much free time on my hands, I was like, sure, why not? And I think that's what started it all. It was super fun being able to at least dance with one other person now. It was so fun. We were learning the choreography on the rug of a random lecture hall, getting rug burn. Looking back, it was a pretty ballsy move for me to decide like, hey, one, I want to get back into dance, and two, I want to perform it in front of this large audience who I don't know. But I think that was the push that I needed to be like, okay, let me pick this hobby back up again. Let me start taking it seriously. I found out about Verse One, which is a dance team that I'm now on. The end of my first semester of college, they were doing winter workshops. I was so bogged down with finals that I was like, I don't think I'll have time to go to these workshops, you know? But then it turns out those workshops were actually what got me through my finals, because it was like that motivation that I needed. I was like, okay, I'm going to write this entire 7-page paper, and then once I'm done, I can go to winter workshops. And I also realized when I went to those workshops that there is such a big dance community here at Rutgers. I don't have to dance alone anymore. This doesn't have to be like a self-taught process anymore. I don't have to be so frustrated anymore, because there are people here that are willing to help me and teach me the choreography and give me notes and tell me how to be better. So I think that's when I really opened my eyes to, oh, this can be something so much bigger than what I expected, and I don't have to do it alone. That was really comforting for me to realize. So I went from having absolutely zero extracurriculars in my first semester of college and having my Sundays being filled with just bed rotting, to second semester I joined 2 dance teams, and my Sundays are now filled up with 7+ hours of just dance practice. It was really overwhelming, but it was overwhelming in the best way possible, because I was able to learn and absorb so much of this art form that I always thought was unreachable for me when I was younger. I joined Haru, which is the K-pop dance club here at Rutgers, and I joined Verse One, which is the beginner dance team here. I really appreciated that I learned drastically different things between these 2 dance teams. So for Verse, it was very beginner friendly. Like, they would teach you all the fundamentals, like how to do the arm wave or what a ball change was. I learned a lot about why we move the way we move, and it really helped with my mind to body connection in terms of dance, because I think before, when I was self-taught, I was so overwhelmed with learning choreography that I saw online, because I was like, I have no idea what their feet and their hands are doing, like what in the world is this dance move? And I'd have to break it down like really slowly. I guess you could say that verse really built my dance vocabulary in a sense, because now I can look at a choreography and not feel so overwhelmed, because I'm just like, oh, at this point of the dance they're doing a ball change, or at this point they're isolating their head so it moves like this. Because verse has taught me so many fundamentals like hip isolations, head isolations, hip hop fundamentals like ball changing, jacking, or stuff like that, that now I can approach learning a choreography more confidently, because I've seen certain dance moves of the choreography in other situations. I feel like verse gave me the blueprint, and then they encouraged me to put my own twist, my own personality to like a choreography that they taught me. So it wasn't very strict on like following the choreography exactly. It was more of like, here's the moves and then it's up to you to interpret it. So I really appreciated verse for bringing out the creativity that you can explore through dance. And also the community at verse was so encouraging and so uplifting and just so non-judgmental. It just really reminded me how much I love dance for just being this outlet, which I really appreciated. Haru, I think I learned the most because it was a lot more strict. We have a showcase every semester, and to be able to perform for showcase, you have to audition with a group. And I got invited to 2 groups. So the first one was to a boy group song, so the concept was very hip hop. And then the second one was to a girl group song, which I've never done. Like I think I've always been a more bouncy, like kind of swag style kind of person. Doing a girl group song for the first time and working with people for this first time ever was such a big adjustment for me, but I did learn a lot, especially for the girl group, which was very like femme style. I learned a lot about facials and how important those are when performing, and how it could drastically change the way that people perceive your dance. And I learned a lot about being strict and clean with my movements, especially for the girl group song. I kind of want to describe it as like a jazz funk type of style, where you have to be very clean with your arm movements and your body, and you have to really know what it's doing, and holding pictures, holding like a pose for a certain amount of time. So I did learn a lot about performing specifically in Haru. Since it was my first time working with people, it was also my first time having to know what positions were. So I had to be clean but also get to a position on time, and I had to memorize all of these things like facials. I have to memorize these movements and I have to memorize like the cleaning notes, and I also have to memorize where I'm moving next and everything. It was very overwhelming. I think I learned a lot because I messed up a lot. When I first joined these dance groups, I was so scared of messing up. I was so honored that they chose me to be part of their team, that I was like, I don't want to skew their hope in me as a dancer, and I didn't want to let them down. But I think in my fear of trying not to mess up, I messed up a lot, but it was good because I think I learned a lot. Every time people started moving during the song, like I didn't know where to go. A lot of people were like, oh, go here, go here. Like they would just whisper it to me while we were rehearsing. And I felt so bad because sometimes in the weeks leading up to Haru showcase auditions, we'd have practices from like, at least for me, I'd have dance practice from like 8 p.m. to 2 in the morning. It was so frustrating for other dancers, I can tell, because I kept messing up and it was like 1 in the morning and auditions were like in a few days and I still couldn't get it down. When people talk about like you can hate something as much as you love it, I think whenever I messed up, I hated dance at that moment. I was like, is this what I want to do? Like I hate disappointing people, like I don't want to do this anymore. But I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about like focusing on something so that you don't mess up, and I was able to work with a lot of really kind and forgiving and patient dancers. They would hold like individual practices. Me and our dance team leader, they would just teach me the parts of the choreography and we would drill it over and over again.
Keep your arm tension as you go back into your bam bam bam. So your arm shouldn't really move. 5, 6, 7, cap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it shouldn't be sharp. It should just be like an exhale. Sharp, sharp. Okay, never mind. Do this like a Betsy did.
Okay.
Snap. And a snap. And a snap. Yeah. you want to reduce your craft time and focus on the full. Yeah. Full. Keep this intensity. So for each one of these, you should feel like as you're pulling back against resistance rather than like pulling back like this.
Even though I was so tired because I had to like full out each time we ran through the song, just so that they could give me good notes on what to fix, I got a lot better because of all that attention and care that was given to me. I don't know when dance suddenly became the only thing taking up my headspace. Like sometimes I would go to bed thinking about dance and scrolling through a bunch of dance videos, and then I would wake up and then thinking about dance again and being so excited about what I can learn in that day. It just goes to show how much love I've developed over just one semester, over a couple months for this art form. I'm so excited to see what other new opportunities it can bring to me. I've had a lot of firsts with dance. Like it was my first time performing in front of an audience, my first time performing with people, my first time learning how to build confidence through this art form, and my first time really exploring my creative limits. And there's so much out there for me to learn still, and I'm so excited to keep being creative, to keep being inspired, feeling motivated. Dance has brought me a lot of hope in life, and for that I am infinitely grateful.
Oh hell, the mighty survivor of hell, plopped down from heaven to sail, holy water that I scoop.